A very sad development for a club legend. Jamie, you've had a couple of days to chew on this. What's your take on it?
I thought it was a disgrace, what he did after the game. Some people have painted it as an emotional outburst. I don't think it was. I think whenever Mo Salah stops in a mix zone, which he's done 4 times in 8 years at Liverpool, it's choreographed with him and his agent to cause maximum damage and strengthen his own position. He did that 12 months ago, and I called him out on this show about it. And he played on the heartstrings of Liverpool supporters. Liverpool were top of the league. He'd scored the winning goal at Southampton. That was the time to come out and put pressure on the Liverpool ownership. So for the rest of the season, you'd have banners in the crowd, give Mo his dough. He's chose this weekend to do this now. And he's waited, I think, for a bad result with Liverpool. You can see the last-minute goal. Liverpool supporters, managers, the manager, everyone involved in the club feels like they're in the gutter at the moment. And he's chose that time to go for the manager and maybe try and get him sacked. That's the way I felt about it. The one line that stands out for me is thrown under the bus. He's tried to throw the club under the bus twice in the last 12 months with the situations that I've just mentioned. Now, going after the owners initially, these are owners who've been paying him hundreds of thousands of pounds for 6 years. He's complained a year ago because they haven't given him a contract at the age of 32. More than entitled to do that. With the manager right now, he should be doing as much as he can to help the club get out the worst run of results they've had since the 1950s, and he hasn't done that. But when I've thought about it over the weekend, and I've put myself in Salah's position, or how I was as a player, I'm not Mo Salah. Mo Salah is a world-renowned player who was famous around the world. And should those players be treated differently? I think they should. I think they should be treated differently. And when you think of the players in that bracket over the last 8 years, I would say Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe. I wouldn't put Salah alongside them, but he's very close for what he's done for Liverpool, so a legendary figure. And all those players, I think, get privilege. Exactly the same one Mo Salah gets at Liverpool. He doesn't have to defend. He doesn't have to chase back. So that's the privilege he has with Liverpool. But when we're talking about throwing people under the bus, he's threw the Liverpool right back under the bus for 8 years. Can you imagine playing behind him for 8 years? But we accept it because he's a superstar and he scores 250 goals and he's given me, as a Liverpool supporter, some of the greatest nights of my life watching him and what he's done. And that's why we accept it. But also then when you think of the ego of these type of players, Ronaldo, Messi, Mbappe, Mo Salah, I think they have a feeling that the success of a football club is down to them. Now, I have no problem with that because I think that drives them on to score more goals and get more success, and it benefits Liverpool. It then becomes a problem when you're in a situation like this. And when Mo Salah's talking about how many goals he's scored, I've got more goals than anyone in the Premier League, what I did last season, he's always speaking about himself. One thing I just want to sort of remind Mo Salah, maybe his agent, is that before he come to Liverpool, Mo Salah was known as the guy who failed at Chelsea. That's just a fact. He'd never won a major trophy before he came to Liverpool. He's also the greatest player his country have ever had in Egypt. Egypt, in the African Cup of Nations, are the most successful nation. He's going there in a couple of weeks. Mo Salah's never won the AFCON. That is not me trying to put Mo Salah down as a player. I've just said he's one of the best players in the world in the last 8 years. Very few better. But what it tells Mo Salah and his agent is, it's not about an individual. You weren't a big star before you come to Liverpool. You haven't really won anything with Egypt anyway. And all that's telling you is, no matter how good a player you are, you need help from your teammates, your manager and fans. And I think that's really important that he remembers that. And when he's talking after the game there in the mix-up, all it's about is me, me, me.
You will be aware, Jamie, I'm sure as well, that there will be those listening to you speak passionately there that say that Jamie Carragher was always going to attack Mo Salah or criticise Mo Salah tonight. Mo Salah said it himself, didn't he, after the game? He said, Jamie Carragher will go for me again and again.
Have I ever criticised Mo Salah on the pitch?
Well, a couple of weeks ago you said his legs had gone.
No, I don't class that as... that's something that happens to every player. That's not a criticism of him as a player. I've never criticised him for not working back. I've never criticised him when he's gone for games without scoring. I've never criticised him when he hasn't passed to someone when he should pass to people at times, because he's an absolute legend of the club, and what you get from him, you have to put up with certain bits. I think some of the criticism this season of Mo Salah has been excessive. I've said that publicly. But I will go after Mo Salah when he tries to throw my club under the bus off the pitch and just think about himself. So I certainly will do that. Now,
what do you think he should have done, Jamie, then?
What he should have done?
In terms of this season, in terms of how it's played out, you know, he's such a proud guy. He's, as you say, he's got this huge ego. He's been left on the bench for 3 games.
Okay, let's understand, number one, right, Arne Slot, right? Arne Slot, 3 games before this run of 3 games, has conceded 10 goals in 3 games. One of them against PSV, Salah was embarrassing in terms of challenge he puts in. He then goes to West Ham away. Nuno team, big on set pieces, okay? What do we need to do? We need to keep a clean sheet. That's all he cares about. What's the one thing you're going to do as a manager? You're going to take out the one player in your team who you've allowed not to defend, okay? So that happens. You play Sunderland at home. I would have played him, but it's understandable you keep the same team, okay? What's he do? He brings him on at half-time. You then go to the away game, okay? So West Ham away and Leeds away. Why would you bring him on when you're winning those games? You don't need a goal. You need not to concede. So if you bring Salah on, you're bringing on a guy who can't defend set pieces and who doesn't run back. But the one time I wanted to be really critical and I held back this season about Mo Salah on the pitch, as I said before, I've never been critical of him on the pitch. He is a legend of the club, right? His legacy is there. If he doesn't score another goal or make another assist for this club, I don't care. He's been amazing. Where he really let himself down in my eyes was this season in Frankfurt and another game where there's a guy who signed for Liverpool who needs a goal more than anyone, Florian Wirtz. Instead of just being a great player for the club, be a great ambassador for the club and roll that ball to him for an easy tap in and go over, give him a hug and a kiss and say, you know what, you're the guy who's going to take this Liverpool team forward. I don't need any more goals. I've seen Barnes at the end. I've seen Ian Rush at the end. I've seen Steven Gerrard at the end. Do you think they were the same players in the pomp? Of course they weren't. Do supporters think any differently of them now? When they see them, they say, no, you are the top 5 or 6 players to ever play for Liverpool. And the same will be said of Salah. So in terms of on the pitch, the one criticism I've got, help the other players, help Florian Wirtz, help Isak. Don't be obsessed with your own numbers. And don't, as I said, what he's done off the pitch, I think the club have made the right decision in terms of him not going abroad now. And whether he will play for Liverpool again, I don't know. I hope he does, because he's one of the greatest players we've ever had. But if you continue like that, and statements like that, if he doesn't play, as I said, who knows?
Now to Mohamed Salah's bombshell interview where he claimed he had been thrown under the bus by Liverpool and suggested this weekend's game against Brighton could be his last game for the club. We're going to be live to Liverpool's training ground a little bit later this morning, but the question is, will Salah be there? Well, he's been criticised by Wayne Rooney. We'll bring you those words in a moment, but first, just a reminder of Salah's interview that has dominated the headlines then.
Seems like a club is throwing me under the bus. That's how I feel it. I think it's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. The club promised me in the summer for a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can say that they keep the promise. And I said that many times before. I had a good relationship with the manager, and out of the sudden, we don't have any relationship. I don't know why. It seems to me, how I see it, it's someone doesn't want me in the club. It's not acceptable for me, to be fair. Like, I don't know why that's happening always to me. Like, I don't get it. I don't think I'm the problem.
Well, the fallout to those comments continue. So this is Wayne Rooney speaking to the BBC saying Arne Slot has to show his authority and pull him in and say, you are not travelling with the team. What you said is not acceptable. Take yourself off to AFCON and let everything calm down. If I was him, there would be no way he would be in the team. He is absolutely destroying his legacy at Liverpool. If I was one of his teammates, I wouldn't be happy at all with what he said, because this is where Liverpool need him most. If anything, he's thrown Liverpool under the bus with his words. I'm sure over the next couple of years, he will regret saying what he has. And former Liverpool striker Michael Owen tweeted, "Oh, Mo Salah, I can imagine how you feel. You've carried this team for a long time and want everything there is to win. But this is a team game and you simply can't publicly say what you said. You're going to AFCON in a week. Surely you bite your lip, enjoy representing your country and see how the land lies when you get back." Well, Owen referenced Salah going to the Africa Cup of Nations with Egypt next week. Many of his international teammates have come out supporting Salah, as has manager Hossam Hassan. He posted this picture of the pair on Instagram with the caption, "Always a symbol of determination and strength." Well, goodness me, Mark McAdam with us now. I mean, a lot to unpack here with Mo Salah. Look, it was an incredible interview. I mean, how did you perceive his comments?
It's one of those moments where you see the headlines coming out. We got an advance email on Saturday night and you had to read it twice because it was explosive and it was quite astonishing in many respects. I think the first thing to say is I always have to respect a player when he comes out publicly and says how he feels and how he thinks. I've worked in football for over 25 years now, and very, very rarely do you get an interview like this. This is a stand to attention moment, and you have to respect Mo Salah, whether Liverpool like it or not. The fact that he's been honest, he's said how he's felt, and he's gone out publicly with it. You have to respect that, because so many players choose to hide their feelings and not be honest. And in the media, that's the one thing we're desperate for. We want the headlines, we want the good grabs, we want the nice interviews, we want the powerful statements, because that's what we're here to try and deliver for the fans. So I respect Mo Salah for doing that.
Yeah.
Then you just have to take a step back and look at what he's done. And there's three things, I guess, really, potentially in what he's trying to do. First of all, is he saying Arne Slot is not good enough? The coaching's not good enough. The standards are not good enough. This is a Liverpool Football Club side that are not achieving what they should be achieving. And does the blame lie at the door of the head coach? Point number one. Could he be also saying, actually, this recent form, this slump in form, this is not my fault. I've been made the scapegoat, as he said. He's the one that's been dropped out of the starting 11. He's the one that's been on the bench for 3 consecutive Premier League matches. But hang on, this isn't about Mo Salah, this is about Liverpool Football Club. And therefore, by me coming out and speaking publicly, I'm addressing that actually I'm not the problem here, and I don't like the fact that the narrative within the media is that Mo Salah's the one that's being dropped, and maybe Mo Salah's the reason why we're not performing as well as we would like to be. And the third thing, I think, quite simple, this is a come and get me plea. You know, January the 1st is not far away, just a matter of weeks now before the window is open. And now, if you didn't know a few days ago, you certainly know now that Mo Salah is potentially available. He still obviously has 18 months on his Liverpool contract, signed a new 2-year deal in the summer. And of course, he's on astronomical wages, which limits the very few clubs that potentially could afford to buy him. But when you look at all of that, and that ultimately Mo Salah can only answer what his motivation was for saying what he said so publicly, I think you have to look at those three things, and it will certainly be wrestling control of the narrative, question marks over his relationship with the head coach, maybe trying to engineer a move in January. I put something on my social media to try and just gauge the feeling amongst fans, amongst Liverpool fans. Really interesting to see what both Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen have said. The one thing I took away from my social media post was that Mo Salah is gold-plated at Liverpool. He's untouchable. The fans absolutely back him 100%, and no matter what he says in the media, they still feel he is the main man and he has the right to say and do what he wants. So Liverpool fans very firmly backing him in this situation. Fascinating to see how this plays out, because one thing's for sure, Hayley, this saga won't end anytime soon.
Yeah, and neither will this chat, because look, Mark, did Salah actually have a point? Because, I mean, he's earned the right to be playing, or can Arne Slot actually be justified for dropping him? What do we think?
It's fascinating, because how many times has Mo Salah come up with the goods in Premier League matches, Champions League games, and actually done something? Even if he's had a quiet game or a poor game from a collective or a team perspective, how many times does he possess that special sauce that enables Liverpool to go and get 3 points? Right? So his track record is scoring goals in crucial moments. If he has a quiet game, he can still come up with the magic. I found this really interesting as well. So a lot of talk about his performances individually, a lot of talk about things. Look at this, distance covered last season in the Premier League, 9.3 kilometres on average per game. Okay. This season, Mo Salah is running more on average than he did last season, up slightly to 9.7 kilometres. You're surprised at that?
I've not seen this yet, and I am surprised.
Exactly. Yeah. So most people would say, well, has there been a drop-off from Mo Salah? Is he not working as hard for the team? You can see the sprints ever so slightly down
not much
on last season, but 0.3.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing, the distance covered, he's covering more distance than he did last season. So you'd look at that and say, well, actually, he's maybe overperforming what you'd expect him to. There's been no drop-off with regards to the distance covered from Mo Salah. So that's one of the things that I find quite interesting. Then you flip that into the sort of goals and assists where he'll be judged. As you can see, this season, absolutely phenomenal. 47 goal involvements last year as they went to win the Premier League title. 54.7% goal contribution. So you can see the importance to him, how key he is, how important he was last season. This season, there is obviously a drop-off. We know he's not scored as many goals and got as many assists last season. Just 4 goals in the Premier League, a couple of assists. The goal contribution rate down at 25%. So again, the output, not quite there for Mo Salah, but certainly with regards to effort, energy, sprints, distance covered, he's doing the same or better than he was last season.
Look, how do we feel the club are going to respond to this? Do you think we'll find out a little bit more about his future as well? We'll find out a bit more about that in a minute.
That's coming up.
Yeah, I just want to know about his future then. And do we think Liverpool will release a statement? How do you think the club are going to react?
I think the club will be really unhappy at this situation. What Mo Salah's done is almost sort of chuck a grenade into the football club and let's see whether it fizzles out or it explodes. We don't know how they're going to react. What we do know is that we've got access to Liverpool later on today. At 11:45, there's an open training session ahead of their Champions League game. So therefore, we will get the opportunity to see whether Mo Salah is in Liverpool training, whether that might change. And then Arne Slot with a player will be speaking today at 6:45. So they're in Liverpool at the moment. They'll be training. Then they fly out to Italy ahead of the Inter Milan game. And then from 6:45, make sure you tune into Sky Sports News later on today. This is a press conference. You get the popcorn out. You do not want to miss. I'm sure Arne Slot will have some really interesting comments about this whole situation and what's happened in the last 72 hours.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well, the Spain international said. Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first. When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing. Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal. Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Eze's attitude, and a healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Ebereki's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team. As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Eze's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Eze's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Eze as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Iza's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Iza can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Iza, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Iza's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Mourinho's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Iza's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Iza can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Iza brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Iza will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Eberechi Iza was signed for. Martin Odegaard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Eberechi Iza stepped into the spotlight. Iza's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Iza out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Iza is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Iza has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubamendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Iza and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because ease has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ease had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now, with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just one behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ease is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubimendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, It could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.